So Lane Marsh is mostly owned by Idaho Fish and Game. There's a small parcel at the far end that's owned by a private party. It's about 173 acres, and it's bounded on the north by the Coeur River, on the south by Highway 3 behind me, and it's bifurcated or bisected by the Trail of the Coeur d'Alenes. It's been identified as one of the areas with the highest average waterfowl feeding density in the lower basin. There's a connection to the Coeur d'Alene River at the far end of the complex. There's the bridge through the former rail embankment that allows floodwaters to flow over the wetland complex and into the south side of the marsh. EPA has been studying in situ techniques in this area for decreasing the bioavailability and bioaccessibility of lead to waterfowl without impacting the water or the wetland structure itself or the ecological function. One of the tests we did is an incremental thin layer capping, or ITLC study, and it was conducted from 2017 through 2020 to evaluate lead reduction and growth of revegetation when vegetation is capped with the cover material. Obviously the cover was clean, mostly gravel and some fine material in it. The process is intended to mimic natural deposition of floodborne materials. When adequate to reduce ingestion of contaminated sediment by waterfowl, results have been positive, indicating effective reduction in lead exposure while maintaining the integrity of the local wetland vegetation. In 2019, EPA collected saturated wetland soil for bench scale studies to study the efficacy of various biochar amendments for reducing lead bioavailability. Preliminary results indicate that in saturated soils, the redox status had much more pronounced impact on lead bioavailability than the amendments. The study is ongoing. EPA is continuing to study the effect of changing hydrologic conditions and redox on metal bioavailability by measuring sediment and pore water at 28 locations throughout the lower basin that experience variations in water inundation. Sampling of low water conditions is scheduled for this fall.
I just wanted to bring up remind everybody the significance of this area to the Tsetsinsa or the Coeur d'Alene people. This area was considered their breadbasket. They did gathering of traditional foods. They had traditional ceremonies, encampments, all up and down the lower basin. Sadly, in 2002, the Coeur d'Alene Tribal Council issued a moratorium highly recommending that tribal members no longer gather, fish, or recreate in the lower basin due to the contamination that resides. Skigwitz, or water potato is the common name, is a culturally significant plant that grows throughout these wetland areas. And this is what we're looking at with EPA's ITLC project to see if there's any uptake of metals through the thin layer capping that they put on top of the contamination. Through our NERDA case, we did prove up injury to some of these traditional foods. The lead attaches to the root of the water potato, and so that's why the gathering and traditional practices can't take place here anymore, and we have to offset those areas in different cleaner areas. But very significant to the Coeur d'Alene people, and as you see, the trail goes through, as Ed had mentioned, and we have some good relationships with some farmers out here. We've done some remedial and restoration projects. The agricultural to wetland conversion project downstream on the Schlepp property is a successful story, working with a willing landowner to help be a steward of the wetland once remediation and restoration has occurred.